1952, April 10th. A man by the name of Roger Bannister was able to render scientific beliefs obsolete and reform history. This man challenged the theory of a 4-minute mile, which stated that no human being is able to run a mile in under 4 minutes. Yet, Roger Bannister stepped on that track and chose to believe in his own ability and broke through that barrier. However, that was not what shook the world. What shook the world came exactly 3 days after, when over 25,000 people broke the same record, debunked the same myth. Many of them were just normal high schoolers and elementary school kids. Kids run as a hobby, not a profession, were rendering this scientific belief that was regarded as impossible and improbable irrelevant. Now mind you, Roger Bannister was not the fastest runner. He placed 4th in most of his competitions, and those kids, they had nowhere near the same physical quality as an Olympic athlete. Yet both of them stepped on that track and broke through that boundary. Both of them said, if I believe it, I will see it, rather than saying, if I see it, I will believe it. Which poses an old question back to humanity. What are human limitations? We have numerous amounts of ways to overcome physical obstacles, but very, very few towards mental barriers. We live in a society that would rather applaud you for receiving a simple trophy rather than overcoming a psychological illness. Which explains why people are so concerned over what's on the outside rather than what's on the inside. Why people don't go after what they want. Why people don't rise to high expectations anymore. Why 90% of athletes don't make it. 54% of businesses fail, and there are 2 unhappy citizens for every 1 happy citizen in this world. Because they're all locked within their self-set limitations. Limitations that were implied by society. Limitations that they learned rather than experienced. Because the best way to cage someone, we don't need rope or steel or cage. All you need is a marketing strategy, a phrase, a statement. Because the best way to make someone feel enslaved is to make them believe they are enslaved. Just last year, an author by the name of Mel Robbins published a book called The 5-Second Rule. This book blew up. It made people change their entire life. They overcame procrastination, and of course, the normal negative habits such as binge eating and binge watching. And believe me when I say that anything that helps you avoid watching 6 seasons of a Netflix show in the duration of the day is quite revolutionary and groundbreaking, if I may say. This book taught a habit that was able to help someone tame their own mind. Now, what is this magical habit, you might ask? Counting backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait, why counting backwards? Why not forwards? And why does this work? Here's the thing. Counting backwards requires you to think, while counting forwards does not. Hence why you can count forwards faster than you can count backwards. So as soon as you choose to count backwards, you step in front of your mind. You take control of the situation, you're conscious of what's going on, rather than going to autopilot, just like all of us do. This reduces regretfulness and guilt, which is what most of us suffer from, apparently. Now, after mentioning all of this, there's one issue. If this is all real, if it's all just psychological, why work on yourself? Why train? The answer is fairly simple. For you to achieve something, you have to be 100% certain in your own ability. And guess what? Even the most elite perfectionists of this world doubt their own ability. So in order to overcome your mind's simple resistive nature, you have to counteract it by convincing yourself. So how do you do this? You train, you practice, you read, you dance, you sing, you write. All these actions are raising your self-belief, your self-confidence, and eventually, you get to do what you wanted to do. Just last year, I tested this theory out. I've been operating in the athletic field for approximately 3 years now. From April 2016 till May 2017, I was extremely serious about it, and I wanted to get this done. I had a big competition coming up for martial arts, so I was doing everything I could do. I was drilling frequently, I was training daily, and I was eating extremely clean. All of this was just leading up to the big day which I was preparing for. I kept on doing this for approximately a year, and there came the big day, and I lost in the first 25 seconds of the match. That devastated me, and to be quite frank, I don't want to compete anymore. There was no point for me. I was done. It broke me in half. Fast forward a week later, I'm analyzing what I did in the match, what went wrong, and what I couldn't do, where I was lacking. Then my father steps in and offers me some help. He tells me about how I'm pushing all the wrong buttons rather than pulling the right trigger. I was missing the point. What mattered isn't what I did inside the match. What mattered is what I did before the match. So I took my dad's advice, and that helped me grasp the idea of the mind. I analyzed what I did before the match, and guess what? Before the match, I spent all of my time analyzing how strong my opponents are, how fast, how agile, and how dominant they are. And soon enough, my mind was convinced that there was no way I was going to win this. There was no way I was going to go through this. Because if you lose internally, you can never win externally. A great strategist once said, "A victorious warrior wins, then enters war, while a defeated warrior enters war, then seeks to win." So I flipped the tables around. I chose to compete again, but this time I switched up everything. My training wasn't that frequent. My eating wasn't that clean. My drilling was not on point. Now don't get me wrong, I was still working hard, but it wasn't near as strict as my last plan. I devoted around 3 months just taming my mind, working on my mental ability. And I was very, very determined to do so. I was very persistent with that thought because I knew that was the way to go. Soon enough, the day did come to the competition, and I had my mind intact. I wasn't looking at any opponents. What I was looking at is my own ability, that's what I'm concerned over. I'm not concerned about how fast he can run or how much he can lift. I was concerned about what I'm going to do in there and how I'm going to dominate that field. And soon enough, I entered, and I did manage to get the win. But that was not the important part. I realized that one simple thought broke multiple barriers. One simple thought released all my potential. One simple thought made me do what I wanted to do. Therefore, I urge all of you here to believe in your own ability, in your own capabilities, in your own potential. I encourage every single one of you to go out there, expose yourself, do what you want to do, be what you want to be. Don't go after what society implies as stable and normal. Do what you wish you can do, because guess what? You can do it and you can achieve it. And lastly, I urge all of you to do as a great speaker by the name of Les Brown says, which is to shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you will land amongst the stars. Thank you.